Luther Vandross was born in 1951 in New York City. His father died when he was just a boy, and his mother had to raise him and his siblings all by herself. At an early age, Luther fell in love with music. He loved music. Luther's childhood was extremely difficult because he was very overweight. His shirt collars were too tight, and the crotches of his pants were bursting out at the seams. Later in high school, he formed a singing group with some friends, and they would often perform at the Apollo Theater. They even performed on a show called Sesame Street. Yes, they performed on a show called Sesame Street. After high school, he went to Western Michigan University, and he was very uncomfortable there because he was one of the few black people at the school, so he felt very uncomfortable. He was very uncomfortable. Luther ate so much food in his first year of college that he was now 295 pounds.
Damn!
So after a year, Luther dropped out of college because he felt like it wasn't for him. So he dropped out of school and he lived with his mother in her tiny apartment in the Bronx. Meanwhile, Luther worked a lot of dead-end jobs to make ends meet. While Luther was back in the Bronx living with his mother, he was trying to break into the mainstream music industry, but he was struggling. Then one day, Luther's friend, who was working in a music studio with this artist named David Bowie. So anyway, when Luther came to the session, he met David Bowie, and David Bowie realized that Luther had a good voice, and Luther was singing for him. And David Bowie liked Luther so much that he invited him to come along on his tour. This was Luther's first big break. And after David Bowie's tour was over, Luther would continue singing backup for other artists like Beth Midler and Roberta Crack. And also during this time, Luther had a successful career singing jingles on TV commercials. Although Luther was making so much blood clot money doing jingles and singing backup, his dream was to become a mainstream commercial artist. So in the mid-70s, he formed a group with his friends called Luther, and the group was named after him. And they released two albums. They released two albums in the mid-70s. And unfortunately, these albums didn't go platinum. Instead, they both went wood. Because nobody bought this shit. So Luther got so depressed about his albums failing that his eating increased. And he gained even more weight to the point where he now weighed up to 315 pounds.
Damn!
Then in the late 70s, a big opportunity came to Luther. He got a chance to be a featured singer with this group called Change. And they had a studio concept album. And he got a chance to sing two songs on this album called The Glow of Love and Searching. And The Glow of Love and Searching dominated R&B radio. They were massive, massive hits. Now, you would think that after having two massive hits on the radio, you would think that record labels would be breaking down the door to give Luther a record deal, right? You'd think that, right? Well, if you thought that, then you're dead wrong. Because record labels still didn't give a shit about Luther. And there's one main reason why. The main reason why was because of Luther's weight. You see, back then, the hottest male R&B singer was Teddy Pendergrass, who was tall and in shape. And record labels were looking for singers like Teddy. They didn't feel comfortable giving a 300-pound man a record deal. So Luther got extremely discouraged by this. He got so depressed that he continued and increased his eating. And he even put on more blood clot weight. His eating got out of control. But Roberta Crack, a woman he used to do background singing for, encouraged Luther to not give up on his dream of becoming a solo commercial artist. In fact, she believed in him so much that she introduced him to Epic Records so he could get a record deal. So Luther eventually signed with Epic Records, and he became so focused when he was making his first album that he lost 75 pounds. And then in 1981, Luther released Never Too Much, the first song off his debut album, and the rest is history. The song Never Too Much went #1 on the US Billboard R&B charts, and it also reached #4 on the US Billboard Dance Club Song charts. And the album was so phenomenal that it received 2 Grammy nominations. And for the next 20 years, Luther would go on to sell 40 million records worldwide and win 8 Grammys. He became an icon. And even after his death on July 1st, 2005, he became a bigger icon. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the controversy. The controversy in Luther Vandross's life. I'm going to talk about the controversy, okay? It was once rumored that Luther Vandross once had the AIDS. Because remember when I told you that Luther Vandross lost a lot of weight when he did his first album? Yeah, he lost 75 pounds. Well, he gained all of that shit back. In fact, throughout Luther's life, he would lose weight and gain weight. And then in 1985, he lost over 100 pounds. His weight loss was so extreme that this newspaper in London started this article where they said that Luther had the AIDS. They lied and they said Luther had AIDS. And Luther sued the shit out of them and he won. Okay, he won a big settlement. And plus he gained all the weight back. The second controversy in Luther's life is that Luther had this tendency to have feuds with other female artists. He would often get into fights with a lot of female artists. He had a feud with En Vogue. They were on tour and they had a nasty feud. He was also on tour with Anita Baker and they had a really nasty feud. And he also had a feud with Aretha Franklin. You see, in the early 80s, Aretha Franklin was in a career slump. Her career was going down the toilet bowl to blood clot. And she discovered that Luther Vandross was a good producer. And plus he had a massive hit with Never Too Much. So she decided to let Luther produce an album for her. And you know what? He produced that album for her and she had a massive hit. It was a big comeback for her in the early 80s. And the album was such a big hit that she had Luther produce a second album for her. And that's when the feud started, because when Luther was helping her produce the second album, he was trying to give her instructions on how to sing a certain way in the studio. And Aretha didn't like being told what to do in the studio because she was the queen of soul. And she got mad because she was like, I'm Aretha Franklin, don't tell me how to sing, motherfucker. And she got really mad and she stormed out the studio and had a big fight. But she eventually came back and apologized. But the relationship was never the same after that. I hate when two fat people fight. I don't like when fat people fight each other. I don't like it. And the third biggest controversy about Luther Vandross, and this is going to be a very, very heavy controversy, and this might make people feel uncomfortable. This might make you feel very uncomfortable, but I have to talk about it. And I don't want to cause rumors about Luther's life. I just want to bring this up because this was a very big controversy when he was alive. And one of the biggest controversies about Luther's life was his sexuality, all right? There were rumors that Luther was gay. And when he was alive, he didn't want to confirm if he was straight or gay. He just kept it to himself. In fact, 15 years or so after he died, Patti LaBelle, she claims that Luther told her that he was gay. Now, this is all alleged. I don't know if he really told her that, but she claims that Luther came to her and told her that he was gay. That's what she said. I don't know if it's true or not. But I'm going to be honest with you. Luther gave off a lot of gay energy. A lot of gay energy. It doesn't matter if he was gay or not, but he gave off a lot of gay energy. I mean, look at his Look at his first apartment. Look at his first apartment. There's nothing heterosexual about this apartment. There's no heterosexuality in this apartment. There's not one drop of heterosexuality. But you know what, folks? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Luther's sexuality was. That's not the important thing. Oh, by the way, before I end the video, I want to show you one more thing. Look at this jacket. Look at this jacket. This jacket is covered in glitter. There's nothing heterosexual about this jacket. Oh, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, but like I said, it doesn't matter what Luther's sexuality was. What matters is that he had a gift from God, and that gift was his voice, and he shared it with the world. Luther, we love you. We can never get enough of you. Never too much, never too much, never too much.